6-Unit Commander Ardren of the Unla military caste finally went to his quarters after an exhausting several days. Life had become a nightmare that you couldn't awaken from. It started 2 years ago with the usual border dispute with their usual enemy, the Denari. There were a handful of worlds that changed hands every few years after a couple of routine skirmishes. This had been going on for decades, if not centuries. It probably would have kept going, except that the Denari decided to enlist help. Normally this wouldn't be a problem. Other races refused to get involved, except for a few mercenaries or weapons dealers. Other worlds simply didn't see the benefit of getting involved, so they didn't. Until humans. The rumors about humans were the types of stories to tell offspring to frighten them into good behavior or eating distasteful nutrients. Humans have figured out how to kill anything without weapons. Humans are all addicted to combat aggression stimulants. Humans regenerate so fast that you can actually watch their wounds heal. Humans drink the blood of other sapients and give the bones to their offspring to gnaw on. Humans love explosions and spend all their free time figuring out how to detonate everything. There were many more such stories. There seemed to be two kinds of people who had met humans. The ones who said that the stories were complete fabrications and that humans never could do such terrible things, or the ones who were too traumatized to talk about their experiences with humans. Ardren surmised that what probably happened is that there were two extremely similar species, one innocuous and one violent, but observers had routinely misidentified the subjects and called all of them human. When humans got involved in the conflict, more rumors rapidly started circulating. The contested worlds were deserts with small oceans. The Denari, being crustaceans, liked the beach areas and would build there. The Unla were reptilian and favored the desert wilderness areas. Dear gods, why hadn't they figured out how to get along before someone got humans involved? The humans were proficient desert fighters, which was odd, given that they are a mammalian species and mammals are rare in the desert. There were some bizarre reports that said humans would come from the water to attack on land. This created rumors that humans were actually amphibians, not mammals, or even wilder rumors of soldiers who had been somehow modified to be amphibious. The one rumor that seemed to be true consistently is that human actions and behavior were utterly bizarre, which gave rise to even more rumors that they were transdimensional beings or magical wraiths. Humans had successfully taken the disputed worlds quickly, to the satisfaction of the Denari. Then they had moved on to undisputed Unla worlds to the delighted surprise of the Denari, until more rumors came. It seemed that humans, learning Denari tactical strengths and weaknesses, had turned on them and began conquering Denari worlds also. Denari worlds fell almost immediately, never anticipating an attack from their allies. The efficiency at which coordinated attacks happened then created rumors that humans must be insectoid, or perhaps cybernetically enhanced to have a hive mind. Ardren had been able to evacuate several regiments, including top government officials, and many civilians to this world, a frozen hell. It was an outlier of Unla territory, completely useless except for rich mineral deposits that had been previously mined and depleted. The Unla had benefited from a substantial income from the aliens who had leased the planet for mining, until the veins seemed to give out and the planet grew even colder, making metal brittle. Climatologists speculated that the planet was entering an extreme ice age. That frozen rock was now completely useless, except as a hiding place. Reptilian Unla and the desert mammal humans never would set foot on a planet that was hell-bent on killing them, which is why it was a good hiding place. Until the human fleet arrived. They demanded the surrender of the Unla. Ardren had defiantly refused. The human general, known as Mori, had sent a simple message to the Unla, via the orbital satellite communications network, "Don't make me come down there to get you." Ardren had heard of this Mori, who had razed an entire world to the ground by summoning hordes of demons that eradicated all life. Evidently, Mori was not even its real name but some sort of title or mystic power word. The Unla then waited. One small enclave was ordered to give token resistance, then surrender, and to tell the humans that they were actually deserters who had separated when the rest of the evacuees had gone on to a more hospitable hiding place. Seemed to work for a couple weeks. Then statues made of snow started to appear on the surface. The statues started to appear in random clusters. They were primitive, large balls of snow stacked atop each other with rocks in the top ball, and tundra twigs sticking out the sides. Unla anthropologists theorized that these were some sort of primitive totems that were representative of humans, trying to invoke a blessing from their gods. As days wore on, the clusters of statues would move during the night. The clusters moved towards specific locations. At first, Ardren was concerned, because one of the clusters was moving towards their location. But clusters were also moving towards other locations that did not have Unla refugees. Then the clusters began to collate. A cluster would disappear from its migration area to join other clusters. As days wore on, and the clusters of snow statues got closer, the human fleet sent bizarre mocking messages through the communication network. Come out, wherever you are. Ali, oxen free. Little pigs, let me in, or I'll huff and puff and blow your door in. Then sunset one evening, the clusters were all collated to only two locations, the place where the Unla were hiding and another location that had a huge depleted mining shaft. The message that came at sunset through the network was, "Last chance." 3 days later, the Unla awoke and all statues were clustered around the entrances to the Unla compound. This time a message came, not through the satellite network but directly to the compound. The message simply said, "Here's Johnny." The entrances all opened simultaneously, some due to hacker override of the control, and some being blasted open. The terrified Unla stared at the statues, and then the statues moved. The statues moved, then crumbled, each one having a soldier inside it. Landing craft settled down all around the compound. Countless alien soldiers poured out, all dressed in whites and grays, making them virtually invisible against the snow. Ardren was at the first line of his soldiers as the human soldiers came flooding in. The cold and enemy swarm were such a shock that the Unla gave no resistance. The people were in shock, from cold and terror, realizing that for weeks human soldiers had been inside those statues, enduring unthinkable cold, not just surviving but winning a war. A few human officers walked forward. One pulled down its mask and addressed the crowd of Unla. "Who is in charge here?" Ardren walked forward. "I am, Unit Commander Ardren, military caste, guardian of these people." The humans stared at him for a long moment, then spoke. "I am General Manuel Oscar Rodriguez Ibanez, of the United Earth Forces. If you surrender and order your forces to stand down, no harm will come to you or your people. Do you agree to unconditional surrender?" Ardren simply nodded and spoke quietly, "Yes." A few human technicians walked over to where Mori and Ardren stood. One diminutive human spoke to Ardren as others set up recording equipment. "We need you to say that one more time, while we record it for legal reasons. But we need you to say, 'We surrender unconditionally.' Then you will shake hands." It grasped Ardren's hand in its own, and moved their clasped hands up and down a couple times. This is a human social ritual indicating agreement. Once that's done, we can get these doors closed and warm everyone up. Do you understand? Ardren nodded. This whole thing was absolutely surreal. The scene where Mori came in was reenacted as desired, 3 times. Right before the 3rd time, the humans had given hot beverages to the frightened and shivering Unla, instructing them to cheer at the handshake ritual. The people, frightened out of their minds and desperately cold, had cheered loudly, anything to shorten the torture of the blasting Arctic wind. As the media crew disassembled the equipment, Ardren asked Mori, "How is this invasion possible? Your kind are obviously desert dwellers. We had even examined your designations, and they usually translated to desert creatures." One of the officers standing next to Mori laughed. He pointed towards the outer door that was being closed. "This is nothing. I am from Siberia, where it always gets this cold on Earth. As a child, I had to walk to school uphill every day in weather like this. Then after school, I would have to walk uphill again to go work to feed my family." Ardren's mind reeled. He went back to inform the civilian leaders that he had surrendered. As the highest-ranking member of the military caste, they would accept the wisdom of his surrender without argument. If asked why he had surrendered so easily and unconditionally, he would tell them what he had seen and heard for himself. All of the rumors regarding humans were true, even the most outlandish. "Every damn one,"